Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode in the Multiverse video series. I'm Javier Luraski, and today we're going to learn how to use Spark 3.0 Preview using R. So first of all, what is Spark 3.0 Preview? Well, as you might already imagine, is just the preview version of Spark 3.0. Now, if you've been following the Spark releases, Spark was in the 1.x version range for a while. And then they switched, I think almost over 2 years ago, to Spark 2.0. And that was quite a change. And now again, we're jumping from Spark 2.4 to Spark 3.0. That means that there's a lot of changes, a lot of improvements. And so the first reason why you might want to be interested in Spark 3.0 preview is mostly to start testing that your workflows work properly with Spark 3.0. And if that's not the case, open a GitHub issue for us. My guess is that it's still going to take a few months until Spark 3.0 is fully supported with R. But you can easily start using basically Spark using R, and that's what we were gonna kind of like discuss in this video. All right, so suppose that you are interested in kind of like jumping into Spark 3.0. What are the things that are new? Well, actually, there's a couple good blog posts. I'm not gonna cover them in in detail. There is definitely performance improvements. There's new data types. There is Kafka addition of headers, I believe. The scheduler now supports GPUs. So there's a lot of kind of like improvements around Spark 3.0. But like what I want to focus on this video is just how do you test kind of like your workflows on Spark 3.0 and make sure that they're actually still working. And you can also try some of the new features. All right, so what you want to do is you want to load Sparkly R. If you don't have like the latest version, make sure that you go ahead and actually install it. And then what you want to do is you should run Spark available versions. And basically what that's going to show, well, by default it shows the standard major versions. But there's a new parameter that you can use, which is called show future. So show future, basically what it does, it also shows the features that have not been released that we're tracking in R. And as you can see here, there is a Spark 3.0 preview version. So all you have to do is Spark install, and then you would want to say 3.0 preview. And that again is gonna download the Spark version of 3.0 on preview, and it's gonna get installed, and that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna skip it because it might take a few seconds to actually download and install. So the next step, what you want to do is you just want to say Spark connect and master equals local in this case. I mean, you could potentially also install a 3.0 preview cluster and test this correctly, like in Yarn and whatever. That's a bit out of the scope of this video, but a pretty quick way of just connecting is to say version equals 3.0.0 preview. That's really all you need to do. And that should get you connected, which is pretty great. And you can start making use of Spark 3.0 and figure out what are the things that are broken, if any, and open GitHub issues for us. Now, instead of spending time trying to figure out what's broken or not and what things still are need improvement, what I'm going to focus on today is just a small new feature that has been added, which is support for binary files. So the way that works is first we need to get a data set, and like the data set that I'm going to get here is called Tiny ImageNet. Is, I believe, a project from Stanford. And what you can do is you can just click here, download, well, not download, but copy the link address for this data set, right? And then if you've been following the videos, one of the things that we can do here will be to say, we can use the pins package, and we can say we're gonna pin this remote data set locally called Tiny ImageNet. So and tells me, oh, sorry about that, I have a typo. And yeah, so we basically are downloading this data set. It's called Tiny ImageNet. It might take a while in your case because I don't remember exactly what's the size, but it's 200 megabytes or something. So it definitely takes going to take quite some time to load this data set. Anyways, so once we have this data set, and you can see here that it's just it's just a local data set. So we can load this into Spark with a new new loading format. And for that, we can say Spark load read source, which is our generic catch-it-all way of loading basically all functionality that is new or why not in Spark. And then actually we need to use the directory name because Spark does the recommended way of loading data into Spark is to actually just say it's just to actually use the directory name, not to use the full image set. And then we would say here that the source type or the format of this data set is a binary file. That's all we should be able to do in order to load this data set. And again, this is a 3.0 feature, binary file. So it's not going to work if you tried using like, say, Spark 2.0 or even 1.0 or whatever. So you need to use Spark 3.0 and then you can make use of this feature. And yeah, once the binary files are loaded, you can just look at them. And as you can see here, you have a few columns that are of interest. You have the path to the image, you have the modification time, the length of the image, and you have the content. Yeah, so this is a new feature. If you're trying to figure out how to use it, well, or when it's useful, let me know. There's probably interesting use cases that I haven't think of. I mean, you can obviously use dplyr to filter and select and whatever. You could put it for instance, say, let's just select the path, right? Or images with some specific length or whatever. And then for instance, you could potentially use also Spark Apply to actually load these images and process them in R. So for instance, here, one of the things that we could do something simple like compute the base name. As you can see here, like we can't even see like the actual base name of the path, but we could also be loading them right directly into R. So this would be one way of using it. We're basically getting the path, and I haven't actually tested this in a full cluster, so let me know if for some reason this doesn't work. But like the idea here would be just to use the path and then load them in R, and maybe you can even reprocess them or transform them or whatever, and then compute some interesting things. Maybe use deep learning to score them, or why not? We had a video where we actually did that last time. We were scoring using ImageNet. So apparently I did something wrong here. So what I can try to do, let me just do the full. Sorry. I know what I did wrong. So what we need to do here is actually we need to say path, right? Yeah. So if we want to use the path, which is the column that contains in the data set. I mean, we filter the data set, but like we use the path. And then as you can see here, we're actually able to see the full, just the name of that particular file. But you could decide also to push this to Keras and do some scoring or even some training, distributed training, and something like that. Anyways, if you find interesting, cool use cases, well, I think other people would appreciate it if you post that on the comments. All right. Well, one last thing that I should mention is if you look at the preview release, it's you should be aware that this preview is not a stable release in terms of either API or functionality. So there might still be things that are broken between preview the 3.0 preview and the actual release. So at some point I recommend you do Spark on install 3.0.0 preview and the version of actual Hadoop to actually uninstall this version. But yeah, other than that, it should be pretty easy to get you up and running and just try this on. The documentation is also up and running, so you can take a look at that. But for R, nothing really changes so far, so you can use the same tools that you already know and love. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this quick video on how to use Spark 3.0 preview with R. And again, stay tuned and let us know if you hit any issues with Spark 3.0. Thank you.